Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Bullseye here on this lovely Tuesday night. And you know what? We're not even going to wait tonight. We're going to go ahead and real quickly bring in our co-host. Let's bring in Bradley Lewis Walker. He should be showing up in a second with that smile that he always shows up with. There he is. How you doing tonight, Bradley?
I'm good, Larry. How are you?
You know what? I'm doing really good, Bradley. We got a lot to talk about on a week where not much happened as far as on the courts or on the field. Still got a lot of topics to talk about. And, let's start off and first allowing people to know who our guest is going to be tonight. We're about 20-ish minutes away from having Leigh Ann Ellis Genetti on. Most of you knew her as Leigh Ann Ellis. She was an unbelievable pitcher for the USF Bulls back in 2003, 2004. They went to the NCAA regionals in both years that she played with USF. Pitcher of the year in 2004. Played on the USA team. Just an incredible young lady, and we have the privilege of having her on later today. So we start off with guests. Number two, if you look at me and you see this straggly thing that is hanging on my face, yes, it's called a beard. Right now, it's called a buck beard. I don't know if we're going to switch it to a bull's beard, but it's a buck beard right now. I have not shaved my beard or my hair since the last time, from the time the Bucks won in this 7-game winning streak or 6-game winning streak, whatever it is. And my wife is allowing me through the Super Bowl, should we beat Green Bay, to keep it grown until the day after. So only 2 ways I shave it before. Obviously, one is if it doesn't go as we planned, and 2 would be after the Super Bowl. And, you look at Tampa Bay, Bradley, and you look what we've done this year. And, as being a writer and also having your own show, you get first the Lightning, win the Stanley Cup. Then it's followed by the Tampa Bay Rays, who went ahead and got to the World Series, came within 2 games of winning that. Let's not forget the Rowdies. The Rowdies, the championship was canceled, but they got to the championship game in soccer. You look at the Buccaneers are 1 game away from going to the Super Bowl. And now you look at the women's Bulls basketball team, they're 10-1, 7-0 in conference. Tell me this is not a great time to be a fan in the Tampa Bay area.
Yeah, again, Larry, let's think about this. The Bucks are 1 win away of becoming the first team in NFL history to host a Super Bowl. No team has ever hosted a Super Bowl, and the Bucks are now 1 win away from being the first. And wouldn't it be something if that was the team that got the privilege of hosting? So with all the bad karma that team had when the Bucks first came into play, so how sweet would it be for them to be the first team ever in NFL history to host a Super Bowl? That would be pretty awesome. Yeah, the Lightning winning the Cup, the Rowdies getting to the championship game. I don't really understand why they never went back and played the game. I don't know if Arizona was afraid or Phoenix was afraid. I think the Rowdies would have beat them anyway. But anyway, yeah, and USF is 14th ranked. I was just looking at the stats, Larry, and I don't understand how Oregon and Kentucky have 3 losses and are ranked ahead of us. I don't get that whole ranking thing, but okay, that's the way that the college has it ranked, but I don't understand that one bit at all. But yeah, it's great to be. And then on top of that, guys, if you guys didn't hear, I made an announcement on my show last night. WrestleMania is going to be here in April at Raymond James Stadium. So again, it's great to be in the Tampa Bay area as a sports fan all the way around. I know people don't consider the WWE a sport. It's a men's soap opera, but still, the WWE is coming here to make up for obviously COVID last year. Canceled WrestleMania. It was supposed to be here 2020, but WWE decided to keep it here in 2021. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, and you talked about these rankings for the women's basketball team and everything. We said it earlier in the year. don't worry about the rankings. Just keep playing great basketball like they're playing, and eventually the rankings will take care of itself. Obviously, the only loss this team has the entire year came at the hands of Baylor, who I think at that time was ranked, I'm not sure where they're ranked now, but they were ranked number 6 at that time. They moved down. Okay. So what is it, 10th right now, something like that? I think
they're right now, Larry, they're 9 in both polls. They're ranked 9th.
Mm-hmm. Who is?
Baylor's ranked 9th.
Right. Okay, I'm sorry. We're ranked number 14. Okay, right. I just want to make sure we got that right. And let's start it off. There's almost only one game. It was Wednesday night. There was another one that was canceled, but with the women's, they really just destroyed Tulane 72-53. They're 10-1 now, 7-0 in the conference. That moved to Tulane now. Tulane was a decent basketball team. They're 7-4, 4-3. But listen to what I'm about to say. Listen to when you talk about, and one of the things you and I have talked about numerous weeks in a row on this show when it comes to the women's basketball team is how everybody is, like the Bill Belichick way, just do your job. Everybody is just doing their job. Elisa Pinson, 22 points, 7 assists, 3 rebounds, and we'll get into her in a little bit of conversation in regards to player of the week. Then you got Elena Sinicki, 12 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds. Maria Alvarez, 12 points, 2 assists, 4 rebounds. Sydney Harvey, 10 points, 2 rebounds. Bethany Manunga, all year long, just shy of a double-double with 9 points, 9 rebounds. She even threw out an assist in this game. And then you got Shea Leverett. Although she only had 2 points and an assist this game, she pulled out 7 boards. Now, when you talk about consistency and you look at this team, every single player on this USF women's basketball team, no matter if it's assists, whether it's rebounds or whether it's points, is in some way finding a way to contribute. Look at Elisa Pinson. One day she'll have 3 points, but she'll have 10 assists. Next day she'll have 7 rebounds, 10 points. This game, 22 points, 7 assists, 3 rebounds. Just an unbelievable job. And besides the players who are executing on the court, you really have to give Coach Fernandez a lot of credit for keeping this team together right now.
Yeah, we talked about this, Larry, and I think last week we even mentioned it that this team is firing on all cylinders. They're hot. It just doesn't matter if one of them has a bad game, the other 4 picking her up, or vice versa. You look too; they had 12 bench points. I'm sorry, yeah. So again, you look at the bench; they had 17 points off the bench, 12 points by Alvarez. So again, you look at guys. It's not just the starting 5. Everybody, Coach Fernandez has got this team playing very, very well at the time being. And like Larry said, if one person takes a night off, someone else steps up and is the captain. So again, it's so great to see the team firing on all cylinders. They haven't lost. They've won 10 games in a row or something like that. They're really on fire right now in all reality. So hopefully they continue to keep playing the way that they've been playing all season.
And we talk about these statistics that you and I always talk about. Free throw. 90.9%, 91%, 10 of 11 from the line, 3-pointers, right around 30%. I'll take it, 10 of 34. They out-rebounded 43-31. And your favorite stat, who won the offensive side of the boards? It was the Lady Bulls, 14-6. And then USF, it just shows you how aggressive and how intensive they're playing lately, is they had 14 steals, Bradley, in this game. That's a hard formula to beat when you're scoring like they're scoring, you're hitting free throws like they're doing, and you're stealing the ball 14 times from your opponent.
Yeah, that's a recipe to win, plain and simple. You can, again, I do like the offensive boards Those are secondary points, guys. So out there, if you want to know what offensive boards are, they're secondary points, a chance for your team to get a second point if they miss the shot. But again, having 14 steals to 6 in this game tells you why USF won by 19 points, because that's the difference right there, ladies and gentlemen. That's the difference. Turning the ball over 14 times is not a recipe for a win, and Tulane got that to them. happened to them the other night.
And, let's just take care of this now. Why I haven't mentioned. There you go. Player of the week, and well-deserved. Elisa Pinzon, like I said earlier, 22 points, 7 assists, 3 rebounds, a well-played game all around for Elisa. And I'm sure she was part of that great defense too versus Tulane. But, this is a young lady we've been talking about all year. I mean, every time you need something to come up big, just like I want to say it was, and I'm going back with memory, I'm getting older, but I think it was Mississippi State when we upset them. She hit the big free throws down the stretch to help us win the game. This is, I call her the catalyst of this team because the team goes as she goes, and everybody, we talked about picking everybody up, and it's when she's not scoring points, somebody else, Sydney Harvey, scoring point, or Maria Alvarez scoring point, or Bethy's putting in an unbelievable 31. So it's just like you said earlier, every single person on this team is contributing, but I cannot think of anybody more deserving than this. And don't expect this to be the last time this year you see her win Player of the Week.
No, Larry, I don't. I think she's won it in previous weeks. I would not be surprised if this young lady doesn't end up winning it, in consecutive weeks or down the stretch, because again, she shows up big in many different ways, guys, not just by scoring points. Sometimes it's assists, sometimes it's blocks and rebounds. This young lady shows up when she needs to show up, and she's well deserved of this reward.
Yeah, and their next game now is coming up for those of you folks and the game that was canceled versus Houston, just so you know, wasn't because of Houston. It was USF side that had contracted some COVID-19, so that game was canceled. There will be a makeup date. Their next opponent is this Saturday, I believe it's the 23rd, 1 o'clock p.m. I believe it's on the road versus East Carolina. They're 5-7 East Carolina, I believe, overall, 3-4 in the conference. But once again, Bradley and I talked about this many, many times this year. Just because of a record, when it's an ACC game, don't automatically assume that the game is won. You got to come out, you got to play, and remember something, and this is the one thing I talked about, I think, a couple of shows ago, that it's nobody's fault. It's just the conditions we're currently living under in 2020 and 2021. It's been a while since both the women's and men's team have played. So, you got to ask yourself, how much rust is there going to be in the tank here when we get started? And, even though I don't believe Coach Fernandez or Coach Gregory on the men's side will allow that, you still got to go in with that game plan and play just like you would play if you were playing a number 9 team like Baylor.
Yeah, that's why we play the games. We can sit here and talk about it and how it's going to be a sure win. Unfortunately, we don't play the games on paper, guys. They have to go out and play. And again, I would have to say, probably both of them will have a little bit of what they call game rust in the beginning of both their next games because they haven't played in a while. Again, like Larry said, it's just the way that life is right now that, with COVID and, them being safe for everybody. And it was unfortunate. I was actually looking forward to the men's team playing Houston and found out over the weekend that it had been canceled. And I'm like, yep, it has to be COVID related. That's the only reason why. And then come to find out it was not Houston. It was USF that had contracted it. So I'm like, okay. Yeah. So, I know how close it is. I have a family member who has it. So again, guys, this is real stuff. It's very scary. And everyone just got to do their part, because if not, we're going to have games like this. I mean, look, the ladies got the Memphis and Wichita State game canceled. I actually was talking about that on my show last night. I was looking forward to them playing the Shockers. Obviously, that game's now been postponed, and now we'll have to wait till this weekend when they play ECU. The women will play Eastern Carolina on the road. So, yeah, guys, this is real, and it's unfortunate, but there probably will be a little bit of game rust for both teams, I would assume, in their next game.
Yeah, because it's even been longer since the men played, and the men are 7-5, 3-3. They were coming off a decent win, and like you said, there's nobody that really knows when or what's going to happen when these games are scheduled, and you just got to think that they got to have some plan. I mean, I know Coach Gregory, I know Coach Fernandez, whether it's intra-squad games, the men's playing the woman in scrimmages, or it's just something to keep a 5-5 flow going on the court. I'm sure they got something going. I mean, I know they got something going. I'm that confident. But you and I both know game time is a completely different situation when you're out there, whether there's fans there or not. It's still a different game when you're playing an AAC opponent.
Yeah, that definitely. I mean, again, guys, if you do not know, college basketball, just like college football, is all conference games. There's no out-of-conference games this year. So that, like Larry said, it's all in the American. And, we had Michael Kelly on here a couple weeks ago, and he said that he likes the conference. He loves the conference. He loves the American. He loves being a part of the American. So, again, guys, it's not as easy. Again, it's not a Power 5. We are a Power 6, but it's not, not one of the big Power 5 conferences. But still, it's still basketball, and there's still some good teams, including USF's women's team, that is damn good, and is showing you how good they really are so far.
Yeah, and after Leigh Ann comes on and we do this interview, we are going to talk about a couple of different schedules in other sports, such as we'll go over it a little bit. Both soccer has come out, men's and women's, starting up pretty shortly here. We got tennis that is starting up pretty close here. So we got a lot of stuff in the next couple of weeks going on here with USF. So you're definitely going to want to stay tuned on Tuesday night to Bullseye. We'll try to get you as much information. Once again, it seems like sometimes these games are being canceled quicker than they're being played. So we'll try to keep you posted on as much as possible. But, I listened to Michael Kelly, and, like you said when he was on our show, he plans on having the full slate of spring sports, spring athletics. He said that on our show, and baseball's about to start up, women's softball. So when you start adding softball, baseball, both men and women's soccer, both men and women's tennis, and there's a couple more sports. Finally, a lot of activity going on at USF. Then, like Bradley said, you look at the Tampa Bay area, you got WrestleMania, Gasparilla, the Super Bowl. I don't quote me, but I'm not sure if one of the rounds of the women's NCAA is here this year either. I'm not sure on that one, but just so much that this area, and we need to start supporting this team. We talked about this on a number of shows. Just like we support the Buccaneers, just like we support the Rays and the Lightning when they're winning. We're not, there is no better time, fans come out than when a team wins. Well, if you look at USF, you can't say I'm not going out to watch the woman unless A, they're not letting you in the Yingling Center, which I know has been a problem, but you can still watch them on TV, and B, you can't say they're not winning. What better time to go out when you have one of, and I will say it, one of the best basketball programs right now in the entire nation, folks. You're not realizing, like Bradley said, they're ranked 14, but they have a better record than some of these other teams in front of them, which, like I said, we don't worry about because we'll just keep winning basketball games and we'll shove it down the people's throats that make the polls that they forces them to rank us better. Winning will take care of that. But we have to come out and support this team. They deserve it. They earned it. They've earned it. They've earned it. And for those of you folks, once I know the Yingling Center went back at one time to stop recently. I think it's still like that. I'm not sure what they're doing. But as soon as they open the floodgates and say we can come in, we need to support this team. The students are back, so we can't use that as an excuse that the students are home. They're here now. They're here now. They're here now. They're here now. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's support them. If you don't go to the games, for $7 more a year, I'm not doing a commercial for ESPN Plus, but you can go ahead and do that. And I think Bradley, they're on, is it called Bulls Unlimited, I believe, is where Derek Sharp and Jim Lauk do the game or something. I think I also seen, is it not Neil? Yeah, Neil Solonz has been on there once or twice as well. So we got a lot of different ways to watch the USF teams. Please go out and support them. For all you fans that are listening to our show or on the other USF platforms, we know you're doing it. But let's get our friends who are USF fans as well to get out here and support the team, especially now with one of the best women's program, and I love saying it, in the entire nation. Tampa Bay is on such a high right now with their professional college amateur teams. It's just incredible. This is something we don't know when this will ever happen again, as successful as the Tampa teams are now. And I'm so damn proud to say that USF women's basketball is a big part of this success as well.
No doubt about it. Again, Larry mentioned, guys, if you have the iHeartRadio app, guys, it's free on both Android and Apple. Download it, guys. Derek Sharp is on there. Larry mentioned soccer. As far as I know, Derek Sharp is the play-by-play guy for both men's and women's soccer. He does a hell of a job. Jim Lauk is a personal admirer of mine. That's a guy that I, envy to be. We had Sam Barrington on here a while back. Jim's a great play-by-play guy for football. So yeah, go over there. Bulls Unlimited 2. It's 24/7 USF Athletics, guys. They have every sport. They play every sport. They'll replay things. I know during football season, if you miss the game, it's either the next day or the day after. They have the game in its entirety. You can hear Jim Lauk and Sam Behringer go over the game and go right back through it from start to finish. I know it was a disappointing football season. If you guys did not hear, Coach Pat White has left the program. Jeff Scott's going to have to look for a new assistant when it comes to that. But again, guys, the basketball team, women's basketball team's on fire. Coach Fernandez has this team clicking. And guys, we need to get to the Yingling Center when they're playing basketball and support them because, like Larry said, they damn well deserve our compassion and our fire because they are doing a hell of a job right now with how they're playing basketball.
Yeah, just an amazing, very well said. I mean, just an amazing way. And I see this, it's going to continue. And, I'm real proud of them. And I just can't wait till they start playing, a little bit more consistently these games for both the men's and women. So, because right now, when you have a team that's winning as consistently as this women's basketball team, you want to see them play as often as possible because you don't want it to stop. You don't want it to stop. You're like, come on, we want to play. Let's go. And, hopefully this weekend everything works out. They end up playing the game and they end up winning and prevailing because I'll tell you what, they are going to be very quickly the team to beat in the NCAA.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is our great honor, thrill, and pleasure at this time to bring into the ApexGiftCard.com studio. Let's welcome former USF star pitcher, Leigh Ann Ellis Genetti. Did I say that right? I think I got
yeah, you sure? Yeah, that's it.
How you doing today?
I'm good. How about you guys? Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for coming on today. Want to really thank you for coming on. We're trying to get as many different sports on here as possible and people from, all different aspects of USF, and we wanted to get you on, and we really appreciate you giving us the time to have you on this evening.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Leigh Ann, if I remember correctly, and we're going back a little bit, I know it's like 15 years ago, 18. I'm trying to hide my age a little bit.
Yeah, something like that.
But, for the fans that don't know that, maybe new fans to USF, maybe newest students or newest softball players even, your career in college did not begin with USF, did it?
No, it did not. I actually transferred to USF after my sophomore year at University of Tennessee. We had a coaching change, so it was nothing that I was expecting or planned on doing, but it ended up working out great. I couldn't have asked for the story to be written any differently. I learned from all the experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly. But me landing at USF was, looking back, at the time, I thought it was awful that I was going to have to transfer because I liked Tennessee. But landing at USF changed my life and was one of the best things that's ever happened to me.
And I'm sorry, what was the reason for you switching to USF?
Well, after my freshman year, my coaches they resigned, forced to resign. And then my sophomore year, new coaches came in. And it's pretty typical in the coaching world when you take over a program to want to bring in your own players. And it was your standard clean house type of situation where those coaches didn't want any of us. And they made it very clear. And they even told us, and they even told our parents actually at one point that they didn't want anything to do with us. So it was actually at the University of Georgia after a game. I pitched the game. I split it with another pitcher, and we did not do well. We really didn't. But after the game, the coach just said in front of the whole team in the outfield, you are not good enough to play here. We don't want you on this team, and you can turn your jerseys in when we get back to Knoxville. So that's pretty much exactly what happened. So at the exact time, I was just completely devastated. But, we played that spring before this happened. We played at USF. And when I was at Tennessee, I actually played the outfield when I wasn't pitching, and I hit for myself. So I just happened to have a good game pitching and a good game hitting. And then in another game, I was playing left field, and Coach Erickson was cleaning up the bullpen, and he yells out, he was like, "Hey, lefty." And I looked over because, the other coaches never really talked to the players. And I looked over, and he was like, "You're a great player. I'd love to have somebody like you on my team." And that meant so much to me that he just randomly said that to me. And so when everything happened at Tennessee, the first thing I thought of was like, I wonder if that guy at USF likes me still. I wonder if he would give me a chance. So, there's a lot of paperwork that comes with transferring. But once I could, I just called him up and I was like, "I don't know if you remember me." And he was like, "Yes, I remember you. We got to make this work. We want you at USF." And I was like, well, I would entertain Florida. So that's how it happened.
Now, I know they say hindsight is always 2020, but did you ever in your wildest dreams ever expect to have, the success you had was just at a level that was so amazing. Did you ever expect, you knew you were good, but did you ever expect those results?
My story is weird when I look back at it, because I was a successful high school pitcher. And, my high school team won 3 out of the 4 years I was there. We won a state championship, and we were runner-up the year that we didn't win. So I was used to winning. I played on a great travel team. We were an elite travel team in my area in West Virginia. And, I knew winning. I knew how to win. I had good coaches. And when I went to Tennessee, we weren't good. We just weren't good. We weren't, I don't know what happened. Looking back on it, I don't know. But we had poor records, and that was really hard for me. And I think I got down on myself. My confidence suffered. The coaching situation when we got our new coaches in didn't help anything. And so when everything happened for me to transfer, for just a split second, I was like, maybe I don't want to play anymore. Like maybe I'm really not good. When it came time for me to transfer, my coach at Tennessee said, if you want to transfer, you can, but I highly recommend Division II or Division III. And at that point, I'm thinking back on my recruiting and back on my high school career. And I was like, I think I'm a Division I pitcher. Like, I mean, I haven't been good yet, but I still think I could maybe be good. So I think I was a little bit of a late bloomer. But, I like to compete, and that set a fire under my tail and pissed me off. And I just happened to end up in the hands of an amazing pitching coach. Coach Erickson's the head coach, but he helped me learn pitching. And he says it best. He says I was a thrower and I wasn't a pitcher. So I've always been given the ability to throw the ball fast, but at a top level, that doesn't mean anything. Right. I didn't know how to move. I didn't know how to change speeds. I didn't know the ins and outs of placement and setting up a batter and working a count. And, he taught me all that. So a few different things happened for me to have that success. It wasn't like it just fell into my lap. I worked really hard for it, but it just all ended up working out for me to be with Coach Erickson and for honestly him to teach me.
Now, you know what? How long, Leigh Ann, did it take when you transferred to USF? I mean, did they make you feel like, did you feel like, yes, this is the place, or was it an adjustment period where it took that time for you to?
Any of my teammates who are watching will tell you it was an adjustment period. I come on a little strong sometimes, and I have kind of a competitive personality. No. And those girls are now my best friends. They stood up in my wedding. I still see them multiple times a year, but they will flat out tell you, no, we did not like you at first. No, because I don't remember saying this, but evidently at some point I told them that I don't care about making friends. I just want to win. And so, that's not a good way to be the most liked person on the team. So it did take a little while, but, I ended up going to Thanksgiving dinner with one of my teammates. So I would say it took until November, but after November on, we were good. People just had to get used to me, I guess.
Now, you talk about throwing a softball, a fast pitch softball, okay? And I played baseball for many years. Now, obviously, the way you throw a baseball, obviously, just like a fielder throws the ball in softball. And then there's pitching. Do you think it's harder on the arm throwing a softball or harder on the arm throwing a baseball, or is it about the same?
It's definitely harder throwing a baseball. And I can tell you that just now with my age. So I still teach pitching lessons. And every now and then I'll have to catch one of my kids, and I'll catch it and I'll go to throw it back. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't. Like, my arm's old. Like, I can't, but I can pitch it back to her, no problem. Like, it's just so easy. That's how your arm is supposed to work that way. It's a ball. Your shoulder's a ball and socket joint. You just make it go around, and that's it.
So let's talk about your junior year, I believe it was, and you can correct me if you like. 2003, you throw your first, actually a perfect game, I believe it was. You throw a perfect game, I believe it was in March, and I'm even telling you the month it was, against a school called, I think it's pronounced Canisius.
Canisius, I think.
Canisius, thank you.
Yep.
And, you strike out 9, which is incredible to begin with. But then if I remember correctly, somebody woke up the next day and said, that's not good enough. I need to go out and throw one against Ball State as well. And the next day you threw a no-hitter. Take us back to that 2-day period in your mind and tell us about that.
It's no different than any other game, really. And this is what I teach my students. No hitters are special because somebody on your defense is going to make an amazing play and save you. Pitchers don't throw no hitters by themselves. The catcher, the defense has an enormous role. And honestly, I think the balls, I averaged about a strikeout an inning, which is a good stat. But, the Cat Ostermans, they're averaging over 2 strikeouts an inning. I didn't have that many strikeouts. I had a good defense. And, you know, I was thinking about this earlier. I always felt like if we could score a run, we had a pretty good chance of winning, because I felt like I could always hold them with the defense to one or less. If we could score 2 or more runs, I always felt like we were winning. We could scratch out. I mean, we could definitely scratch out a couple runs if we could just hold them. And, you know, a lot of our games were low scoring games where Holly Groves would go up and hit a home run and we'd win because we made great plays.
Yeah, you know, and if you look back, obviously your individual results helped the teams in many ways, and I'll go over a couple of them. 43 victories in 2004. I'm like, what? Okay.
I say that sometimes too.
I know, it's unbelievable when you really think about it. 315 innings pitched, you're right. You average just about a strikeout an inning, 320 strikeouts in 2003. Now listen to this. Bradley, you want to hear something? 2 years, 77 wins, 633 strikeouts. Okay. Pitcher of the year in 2004. But let me ask you this. I know you play to win, and you mentioned that at the beginning. Talk about how special it was to make it to the NCAA regionals 2 years in a row.
That is a goal that we set at the beginning of the year, you know, and I am still a very goal-oriented person. And I know, and I would sit and figure all this out, you know, just it's all stats, it's all numbers. And I was driven by stats. I would sit there and say, okay, if we want to go to regionals, we need to win this amount of games. And if we want to make it to the World Series, we got to get put in a good region. You know, I'm all the time thinking about it. Like, I couldn't wait until they came out to say who went in what region, because I'm right away looking at records and trying to figure out how we're going to get to the World Series. So getting to regionals was super exciting, but, you know, it's a goal that we talked about all the time. It wasn't a surprise. We knew we were going to make it. We talked about it and we made it real, and then it happened. It was just such a different feeling as a player coming off of my freshman. And, you know, my freshman year, we were tied for last in the conference and in the SEC. And my sophomore year, it came down to the very last conference series to see if we would go to conference tournament, and we didn't. So it wasn't a feeling that I was used to, but I got used to it quickly. And it was just a different atmosphere of, we're just going to talk about it because this is what we're going to do. And we're going to regionals. Like, we're just going.
Right. So after college, you meet up with Coach Erickson again. And I want to talk about it because a lot of people don't get the opportunity. They may play softball, they may get to play at a high level, but talk about what it feels like as an individual to represent your country.
That experience, although it was short, was one of the best experiences of my life. And, you know, you always dream about putting on the jersey. And then when they give it to you, it's just like you go down the assembly line and they toss you your bag of stuff and you move on. But you've got it in your hands and you're like, oh my gosh, this is my jersey that I'm actually going to wear. And it says USA and it has a little flag on it. And, you know, we were coming off of 2004 Olympics. So a lot of the girls on the 2005 team, they were coming off of the Olympics, which was like one of the best teams known to man ever up to this day. And they were very familiar with each other. And there were only 5 or 6, actually maybe even 4 or 5 people that were added to that team and that didn't go to the Olympics the year before. So it was almost like I was definitely out of place a little bit because I was still trying to get my foot in that international competition door. But the coaching staff and all of those girls were absolutely amazing, so helpful, so accepting. But it was definitely intimidating because I had no international experience up to that point. I had no junior Olympic experience or anything. And, you know, 2004 was my senior year and probably my best career year. And I've had people say, well, then, you know, why weren't you in the Olympics if you were on the national team? But, you know, the national team is chosen a year ahead of time.
Right.
So that team tried out in 2003, and we actually played them in 2004 which was a great game. And then to be a part of that 1 year later in 2005, it was just, I mean, I literally just looked at my picture book the other day and I just look at it. I'm like, I can't believe that actually happened.
And if I'm correct, in that exhibition game, didn't you hold them scoreless for like 5 1/3 or 5 2/3?
Yep. Something like that. It was crazy. I remember that game just being so hyped up. And I'm not usually that type of pitcher. I don't like a lot of extra stuff. I don't like, when I had a third strike, I didn't want to throw the ball around and everybody come in the circle and give high fives. And I would just say, give me the ball back and let's go on to the next batter.
Right.
But I remember in that game being so excited after a strikeout that I just got the ball and I turned around and I was just so pumped up that I swiped the dirt. And then I looked at it, I was like, what are you doing? Like, you don't even act like this. Get your head on right,
Bradley, do you have any questions you want to ask Leigh Ann?
Yeah, Leigh Ann, real quick, I got a couple.
Okay.
Which crowd did you play bigger in front of, at USF or at Tennessee? Which do you guys remember? I mean, in softball, does it matter by crowd number? I mean, again, I'm new to softball, so
no, no, it doesn't really matter. And when I was at Tennessee, they had a very small stadium. We played in a city park, so the stadium size, and our old field at USF, it wasn't huge. It wasn't anything like they have now. It's beautiful now. But I mean, I would say maybe about the same.
Okay. And the other question is, you were talking a lot about Coach Erickson. What is the best thing that he taught you, being a head coach and then as a player, from what you taught your players?
It's nothing that can be wrapped up in a sentence. Okay. So you have to imagine the state of mind that I was in when I got to USF. I doubted whether I even really wanted to do this anymore. I honestly was thinking maybe I'm really not good and I can't compete at this level. This guy's going to give me a shot, but we'll see what happens. I was coming off of coaches who put me down, and not just me, it was everybody, but they made us feel bad. They made us feel, our self-confidence was shot. And then when I got to USF, Coach Erickson's a hard coach. It's not that he was easy on us, but he respected us. He was truthful with us. He pushed us. And I think just that level of him treating us like actual adults and trusting us, that made me honestly want to go into coaching. And that's one of the reasons that I did, is because I wanted to make my girls feel like he made me feel when I played for him, which is actually like a real human that he respects and that he wants to push and get the most out of me.
Yeah. Now, you were honored later on, and tell us about this, becoming a member of the USF Softball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that was, oh my gosh, I forget what year that was. Maybe 2007, maybe 2007. Yep. I came down and my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, came with me and got to meet everybody probably for the first time. And there was a nice ceremony. My parents came from West Virginia and we had it right there. I think it was in the bottom of the Sundome. I can't remember now where we were. I think we were in the Sundome. Yeah, it was just such an honor. There were only a few people ahead of me, even in that. And Monica Triner is in it, and I look up to her. Hey, Mo, if you're watching, I hope she is. So that was really special.
Yeah, and I can imagine. I mean, I can only imagine how special that was. Now, do you ever get an opportunity nowadays where USF may call you up and say, "Hey, we'd love you to come down here, talk to some of the ladies that are playing, and tell them about your experiences when you played softball"? Do they ever bring back some of the alumni or previous players to do that?
I don't know if they have done that exact thing, but I had been invited to work camp in December, probably the first 10 years maybe after I graduated. So I got to chat with some of the players and, share experiences and get to know some of them, which was really fun because then when I was rooting for them in the spring, it was like I had an actual connection with them. I would love to do that. If that's something that Coach Erickson would ever ask me to do, I would definitely do it.
Now, last question before I let you run. I know you're into coaching, and I love it when people go into coaching after playing the game. But you're one of those individuals, and there's a lot more like you that just don't talk about it. That maybe go to school, a school like Tennessee, a huge SEC school, well known for its athletic department, and it's not always hunky-dory or as glorious as they expect it to be. With you coaching girls at that age right now, or a little bit younger, on how to pitch, or how to play softball in general, do you teach them also about the bumps in the roads they may face so that when they do face it, gosh forbid they don't have anyone to talk to, they don't make a terrible decision in life and, just be depressed?
Sure. One of the main objectives that I have for my business, I call it empower pitching, is that I want to empower the girls with the knowledge that they can make decisions for themselves. They can understand the importance of a relationship with your coach so that you can go say, hey, coach, why are we calling outside on this count? I was thinking inside. Is that something that you would consider? I respect my coaches, and when I had my bad experience with coaches, it wasn't because they were hard on me. I can take a coach being hard on me and expecting a lot of me, but this is what I tell my girls. There's a difference in someone not trusting you and being disrespectful to you and speaking down to you, where I want all of them to understand that's not okay, and a good coach is not going to do that. Now, there's a big difference in a good coach being tough on you. And, there are times where I'm tough on my girls too. For the most part, I'm not in that role as an instructor. I don't have a team that I coach anymore. So I'm usually not that person. So, I like to talk to them about, sometimes they'll try to complain to me about stuff. And I'm like, nope, I'm with your coach. He can see that you're going to be better. And what you did was not enough. So, I understand coaches being tough, and that's okay. But for the most part, the biggest takeaway for them is seeing the difference of what is too much and what is not healthy and what is making me feel like less of a person and shooting my confidence down because, maybe that's not the situation we want to be in, no matter how good that team is.
Now, where do you teach these lessons, Leigh Ann?
I have my own facility. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I have
okay. So people in North Carolina, anyway, if they're interested, because we get people all over the U.S. listening to this show. Is there a website they can go to get more information?
Leigh Ann Genetti Softball on Facebook. And I haven't done a great job of keeping up with that, but I post some things on there every now and then and answer messages when people send them to me on that.
Okay, well, if there's any way we can help here on Bullseye, you let us know. We'll be more than
Thank you. And I want to say hi to all my girls. I know some of them are watching, so hi.
Well, we want to say hello to them too, and we're trying to get a lot more former softball players on. We're coming up that time of the year. We did football. We got a lot of former football players. Basketball, I'm sure the people that have watched the last couple of weeks. I think 2 weeks ago we had Jessica on the basketball player, right? From former USF basketball player. So we've had a lot of different people on, and we want to continue that. Now softball and baseball is coming up. So we have sent out messages to other ladies that might have actually even played softball with you. So hopefully we'll get them on here as well.
Great. Well, that was great. Thank you guys so much for having me. That was awesome. That was fun.
We love having you. And like I said, you're always welcome back whenever you want. Thank you so much from both myself and Bradley for joining us on Bullseye this evening.
All right. Well, thank you, and go Bulls.
Go Bulls. There you go. All right. That was Leigh Ann Ellis Genetti. Great conversation, as I always lead all conversation afterwards. But, once again, Bradley, and I know I thought I took that off the. I know sometimes it says, what's that saying? It's like you're beating a dead horse or whatever the saying is. But another individual that comes to USF and not just has great things about the university as she said, but another one that had nothing but rave reviews about another coaching who I consider coaching legend at USF, Coach Erickson.
Yeah, that's guys. If you're wondering, I'm an SEC fan, and the one school that I just cannot wrap my finger around is University of Tennessee. So now that just puts another notch of why I dislike the University of Tennessee. Just joking, guys. It's just SEC humor. But yeah, again, another great interview with another great former player. Coach Erickson is another one of those. And again, Larry, we have yet there's been nobody, not one interview that we've done on here not one of them has said anything negative about the university at all. Recruiting, how they got here, what they did, why they transferred here. Not one person has ever mentioned the negative, and that's great to hear about how great the university really is.
Yeah, I agree. 100. See, I'm allergic to you again. I started coughing, you see, only on Tuesdays. That's it. But you're right. And, we're going to have some more great interviews coming up in the next couple of weeks. So we'll let you know who those are going to be at another time. But talking real quickly on a couple other sports I want to mention. Women's soccer begins February 7th versus FAU. Their conference game begins February 14th at SMU. Then you got men's soccer February 6th. Temple, they play home at 7 p.m. So that's 2 weeks away, right? 2 weeks from this weekend.
Yeah.
Then you think that's not enough. Men's tennis. What is today's date? It's got to be the 17th, right?
Today is the 18th. Or today's the 19th, excuse me.
Right. They were supposed to go on the 17th. I think that might have been canceled. Don't quote me on that. And then you got the women's tennis begins at Florida State on January 26th, which is this upcoming week. So lots and lots going on. If you don't know, the men's tennis team will play 24 competitions. The women will play 22. Not sure what the two difference is, but something might have been canceled. I don't know. So if you look at these sports, basketball, baseball, softball, and that's men's and women's basketball, men's and women's soccer, men's tennis, women's tennis. There is a lot coming up. It is a good time of year to be a USF fan. So all we could say is, continue to support your teams. I thought it was interesting when you brought up the conversation with Leigh Ann about, I always thought Tennessee had a better facility. Now, I don't know today what they have, but I was really surprised to hear that they played in a city park. And for those of you folks, a city park is just what you think. It's a recreational park where your kids would play a softball game if you were playing. They played on the same field. And, and that's the thing sometimes that, I understand football is the big money bringer, but you still got to take care of these other sports. You have that image that has to be lived up to attract people. And thank goodness, Coach Erickson was able to grab this young lady, Leigh Ann Ellis Genetti, off over to the team because she owns did you hear some of those stats? 633 strikeouts. 43 victories in 1 year, 315 innings pitched, 320 strikeouts, pitcher of the year. 2 no-hitters she woke up the next day and threw another no-hitter. That's just amazing.
Yeah, think about this, Larry. She mentioned, too, when she was going to transfer here, she was going to quit playing softball. Just imagine that. You're looking at all those great numbers. She was going to quit softball, guys. She admitted that. She said, I don't know if I'm going to, the coaches at Tennessee had drove her, to think negative about herself. And she's, thank God for Coach Erickson. Because, again, look at all those stats that she has. That's outstanding.
And
that
you know,
she
you
stuck
bring up
with
a
it.
great point, Bradley. You know how a university could take an athlete that has so much potential and make them disbelieve in themselves because of their surroundings. And you know, that's the one lesson right there from Leigh Ann that a lot of young kids that are in college. First of all, when you're in college, and we talked about this, Bradley, when you're in high school and you're a good ball player, whether you're a female playing softball or a man playing baseball, just to use those two sports as an example, you're a stud or you're it. You're the crap. You know, everybody loves you. But then when you go to college, you realize that there's a lot more people out there that are just as good as you, and that's not necessarily what happened with Leigh Ann. What happened with Leigh Ann is she had bad leadership, and you will never be successful if you're being guided by bad leadership. You have to be around leaders, people that don't follow, but people that lead. And Leigh Ann's a true leader. And when you look at what she did, she said she thought about quitting. There are so many people in that situation that would have quit, and would have took an opportunity that they would have never known about. You know how many people quit right before they reach that plateau or that turning point in their life? And here's a young lady that said, no, I'm better than that. I'm individually, I believe. You heard her say, screw that. I'm not a Division II pitcher. I'm not a Division III pitcher. I'm a Division I pitcher, and I'm going to go there and I'm going to prove all these SOBs wrong so that when I'm playing with USF, I'm going to stick it right back in their face. And that's what she did. That's exactly what she did. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the difference. And tell me if I'm wrong, Bradley. That's the difference between a winner and someone not being a winner.
No, I totally agree with you, Larry. Everyone out there, guys, just imagine this. Don't ever let anyone tell you you can't do what you want to do or what your dreams are. Because if you let people tell you that, you never know what might be. You never know. Because look at her for an example. You know, she at Tennessee, they were told to turn in their uniforms. You guys are not even going to be, you can't close to being what we need. And then she was about to give it up. She decided to stick with it and set all those records at USF. So just put it to you that way, guys. Take that as an example as don't ever give up on your dreams, no matter what. Don't ever let anyone tell you that. No.
And remember this, when you look in the mirror, the most important person you have to impress is the person in that mirror. Okay? Don't worry about what other people think of you. And it's easier said than done. We know that. Nobody likes people talking about us or behind our backs or we're not good enough. But you know what? You know how many people became millionaires in this country when people told them they could never do anything to make a living? You listen to the Bill Gates who never went to, who wasn't an educated man. He was one of the richest men. You listen to some of these athletes that told you'll never be able to play, and they end up making the Hall of Fame. Just remember, look in the mirror. If you're happy with yourself, that is the most important thing. If not, the only person that's going to change it is that same person in the mirror. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank you very much. We, of course, want to thank Leigh Ann Ellis Genetti for coming on and being such a terrific guest. Unfortunately, we have no parting gifts, but we'd like to thank her very much for being on our show. We're going to have another great show this week. Before we wrap it up, as always, we'll go a minute or two late. Bradley, why don't you tell us about your upcoming Thursday show?
Yeah, guys, the Walk Report, again, will be back 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time within the Zone Sports Radio. Guys, if you missed the show last week, I do have a YouTube channel. It's called The Sports Center. Bradley Walker, head over there. All of my shows are in their entirety. We had University of Michigan play-by-play radio broadcaster Jim Brandstetter on last week. We're trying to get some guests like that, guys, trying to spread it out a little bit. But that show is being great. I have two great co-hosts that make that show just absolutely flow. I was going to ask you, Larry, how, real quick, because I know we're running out of time here, how did your show go last Thursday? You had a boatload of guests. How did that go? I meant to ask you about
Well,
that.
Bradley, it went really, really well. And, everybody talks about how great that show was. Well, we're going to tell you how great this week's going to be now that we're in the NFC Championship. It's even better. But before we do that, I have a show Wednesday and Thursday. Tomorrow, beginning at 9 p.m. on Frankly Speaking Sports, we're going to have former World Series participant. He played with the San Diego Padres. He was very well known in the 80s. Tomorrow night, we got Kurt Bavacqua on our show. So we'll be joined by the San Diego ball player. Then, as Bradley mentioned on Thursday night, we had an incredible show last week, but it gets even busy. You want to hear a lineup? We're going to have to start the show at 8:30 again because of this lineup. The following people have committed to be on that show. First of all, once again, we will have superfan Big Nasty joining us. Then we're going to have former tight end who played in the last Super Bowl the Buccaneers were in 2003, Kent Dilger will be joining us, followed by one of the better offensive linemen to ever play for the Buccaneers, Randy Grimes. After Randy Grimes, we're going to follow him up and get a little defense on the show with Ricky Reynolds. And then after Ricky Reynolds, we're going to go to the West Coast and have our good buddy, former quarterback, the last time the Buccaneers made the playoffs in 2007, Jeff Garcia will be joining us. So you talk about one show, this is a championship show. We got to go ahead and make it right because, like Bradley said earlier, you never know when this opportunity will come up again. And you guys are the first here on Bullseye to hear that. We may have a few more guests we tweak in there somehow, but that is our lineup for now, and we're going to advertise that action a little bit later. So, Bradley, you're one of the first people and the people on Bullseye to hear me go ahead and make that official because I was waiting for confirmation from these guys. But, we're looking either way. We both have a show. We're both excited for not just the basketball games coming up this weekend, but also, we want to wish our best of luck to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's bring it home from Lambeau. It'll be 24 degrees in snow, but don't think about it. Let's bring home a win. All right, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of myself and Bradley Lewis Walker, until next time, keep those horns up, and we'll see you next Tuesday at 9 p.m.